All right, ready?
Mission ready.
All right. So welcome guys to the Sophron Network, the podcast where we bring in industry experts to talk about finance, quant, and anything related to more technical fields. Today I'm here with Arnav and with Daniel J. Duffy. So we have a really special guest today, someone who's been at the intersection of mathematics, programming, and finance for over 4 decades. So someone with a lot of experience. He's the founder of Datasim Education, one of the very first companies in the Netherlands to adopt C++ back in 1990. He also holds a PhD in mathematics from Trinity College in Dublin, where his research was on convection-diffusion PDEs. And he's done a lot in terms of before Black-Scholes, so before everything quant finance became popular mainstream. He's also the author of many books, more than 10, on computational finance, C++, and numerical methods. He's also the originator of a lot of renowned C++ courses at, for example, Baruch College and Quantnet, taken by many students across the world who are very interested in computational finance, mathematics, and anything related to quant finance, as we call it today. He also trained thousands of quants, engineers, and developers over his track record and experience in the last couple of decades. And today we are going to walk through PDE, Finite Difference Methods, C++, in computational finance specifically, together with Daniel. So we really hope that this sort of course will bring you more insights into the world of computational finance as we know it today, especially coming from someone who has so much experience. So just a little bit about myself. My name is Vincent and Arnav. I started Amsterdam Investment Club and run Sophron. The goal really is to connect as many individuals as possible. We're interested in financial markets, and then to also bring in industry experts to help really educate a lot of people and to make everyone excited about computational, quant, finance, and a lot of other fields that are very closely related to it. So I'm here with Arnav. Maybe Arnav, you can also do a short intro.
Yeah, hi guys. I'm Arnav Sathe. I'm from Prometheus Capital, Vincent's co-host on the Sophron Network. Really excited today to hear what Dr. Duffy has to say. He has some very clever insights and valuable information for us and our listeners. So we're really glad you guys tuned in, and looking forward to what Dr. Duffy has to say.
All right, you can take it away, Daniel.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. Can you see my first slide?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, it's always the most difficult part of my courses. It's the hardware. The software is easy. Okay, so let's start. Well, thank you very much, first of all, for the invitation. Appreciate it. So the title of my talk will be PDE, which is Partial Differential Equations.
Mm-hmm.
And FDM is Finite Difference Methods, and C++ in computational finance, quantitative finance. That's my email address. That's the our website, datasim.nl. So that's the official sites. So if you want to contact me, feel free.
Mm-hmm.
So the my talks consist of about 5 parts. So I've broken up into 5 parts, and I will talk about the first part now, just in one moment. So the at the end of each part, there's lots of opportunities for interactive questions and so on.
Yeah.
And as we progress in the later parts, which get a bit more hairy because they become a bit more technical, and maybe we can ask more questions interactively as well. So the first part I'm going to talk about now, which is part 1, let's say, it's just basically an overview of my whole approach from A to Z, as it were. So I'm setting the scene for the other parts, parts 2 to 5, for example. So let's start. You can see the slideshow now, right?
Yeah, no, it's all good.
Yes.
We see the little man with the arrow and everything.
Yeah, that's a little devil. Anyway, so the goals of the talk are, I want to first of all give an overview, A to Z or alpha to omega, whatever you want to call it, approximating partial differential equations, which model option pricing and hedging, PDEs for short, using the finite difference method. So most PDEs do not have an analytical solution, which a lot of people think they have, but they actually don't. You have to approximate it numerically on discrete meshes. So this, and the most important numerical method for approximating PDEs is the finite difference method for a number of reasons we'll talk about later. And we focus on computational finance. In other words, not just any old PDEs for heat equations or in electromagnetics or something, but in computational finance. So PDEs are models for computational finance as well. So what we do is we apply the same PDE techniques and FDM techniques in computational finance that that were done in the last 50 years as well. So it's not, in that sense, rocket science. We're not reinventing the wheel, we're extending it. So we concentrate, just to make it a little bit exciting, on two-factor models. So like, for example, a Heston model, for example, or a two-factor whole white model, or spread options on two underlyings, this kind of stuff. We can do, it also works for one-factor models, like the classic Black-Scholes equation, which I did my PhD in really afterwards. So but we'll take two-factor models, and we'll take a specific example as well in a moment, spread option. And long story short, this is my slide number 3. We start off with, you've got some model of finance, a financial model. You want to do something. You've got an interest rate model or something, and it could be whole white or Cox, Ingersoll, Ross or something. We pose it as a so-called initial boundary value problem. That's a very technical term and precise term. It's about initial boundary value problem. You're working in a certain domain, so your interest rates have certain bounds and constraints. And initial is time dependent. So we will talk about time dependent problems. Yeah. And these have been studied in the past. So once we unambiguously define my initial boundary value problem, and then we prove it's mathematically correct, which I've done, etc., we start approximating using a number of finite difference schemes. And in my talk, I've got something like 6 different schemes, which are the best around. And once we've set up our finite difference schemes, which is like a discrete matrix mesh, you might say, matrix system, we start programming it in C++, for example. You could do it in Python as well, or C#, which is fine, but we'll focus on C++ at the moment for certain reasons. And one of the issues is having written my first finite difference methods in 1975, improvements on the current practice, what I see in computational finance. Current practice is could be like just using recipes and see how it works, and if it doesn't work, we'll try to tweak it. That's not the way I want to tackle the problem. I want to analytically, I want to fundamentally look at the strength of all of these models. So basically, taking a more mathematical and robust approach. Yeah. And some original results of my own in this area. So the long story short, I want to have a unifying process and a rigorous treatment and a certain amount of standardization, which can't be bad, I suppose. Okay, so that's just basically the goals of my talk, the overview. What's the background? The background, I'm talking about PDEs, first of all. The background is the PDEs I'm using and so on. Much of the original research is from the 1960s and actually 1950s in the moment. And the people who are working in this area are people doing reservoir engineering, natural gas, oil reservoir, fluid dynamics, nuclear engineering, also rocket science, literally. Actually, I worked in natural gas area in the 1980s when I set up a computer network for in Oman, which is in the news at the moment. So it's all fluid dynamics. Anyway, where did the original research come from? There were 2 major areas. USA, using the ADI, alternating direction implicit method, which is kind of standard even now. And in the former Soviet Union, using the so-called splitting methods, the operator splitting methods. And we talk about it much more in a moment. Now, the West and the East, in the 1960s and 70s, there was a lot of interchange of research between these different groups, but the many methods which I've seen in the West, that's in this area, and were discovered, for example, were already known in the USSR in 20 years earlier, basically. And the only way you could get access to these was having access to Russian journals where the articles were written. I fortunately had the advantage because, first of all, I studied in Trinity College and actually had all the Russian journals, but also in Amsterdam, where I lived for 25 years, in the Mathematisch Centrum, and it's now called the Centrum van Wiskunde and Informatica. They also had all these journals. So and my research as well was based on these results, believe it or not, even before I ever heard about finance. And it's my PhD topic was really the Black-Scholes equation. So that's just background. I suppose I'm the person who actually tried to advocate the use of all these different methods in computational finance, because most people, 95% of people are using ADI method. So we got some remarks about the method. Some of my students who actually did their theses in this area. Okay, so it's a defined and repeatable process. This is a quick slide. So basically, we take high-level requirements, you might say, because this is a software design, systems design problem. High-level requirements into working code. So, for example, the specific example I'm taking now is I want to I want to price spread options. So it could be spread on crude oil and something else, or two stocks, for example. And you describe it in whatever language you want to describe it in, and it's being progressively translated, as it were, to eventually working code in C++ in the production system, in the pricing library. And most of these libraries are in banks. Most of the pricing libraries are all in C++, so it's the same idea. So I've basically got four major activities or phases, just to make life easy. It's a so-called information pipelining model. We map higher level concepts and activities into lower level concepts, which will eventually become code, right?
Yeah.
And each phase has its own jargon and language and input and output and checks and balances, whatever you want to call it. So each phase produces output from input, of course. And it's to use a fancy word, it's a process of elaboration. So it might come as a shock to many developers who start jumping into code and see how it works. And if it doesn't work, you tweak it for months on end. So that's not the way I want to approach it. So basically, the big four. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4. Problem one is the financial model, as it's called. So what are we talking about? We're talking about equities, fixed income, hybrid, for example. So equities, that's everybody does it, and people are comfortable with using PDEs for equities. But I did it with a number of my students, but also training. We did it for fixed income, so like whole white models, for example, or Cox, Ingersoll, Ross, one factor, two factors. So what I'm saying is the PDE models as well, work for these as well, which I've proven, and somebody else has proved it as well, and a number of people have proved it. In fact, one of my courses, one of my clients has done it for whole white, using convertible bonds. So that's nice. Hybrid. So that's the financial model. So we have to talk the finance, domain knowledge, some domain knowledge. Afterwards, we actually describe the financial model using an analytical model, it's called. So it could be good old partial differential equation, could be SDE, which is stochastic differential equation, which people do a lot. Monte Carlo, for example, Brownian motion, which everybody loves. People write all these equations on the whiteboard, and here's an SDE. And you solve it using simulation. That's possible as well. It could be binomial method, could be closed form. It's like the holy grail. People want a closed form. In 99% of cases, it doesn't work. But don't let me stop you trying to find an analytical solution in general, because it's a lot of work. Okay, and certainly in engineering applications, we never think about finding analytical solutions to numerical problems. It's just too complicated. But anyway, that's between you and yourself, your inner self, whether you want to try it or not. Now, the next phase is we're elaborating the PDE model, because the PDE works on paper. It doesn't work on a computer. It's just a nice formula. So then we have to elaborate, we have to approximate the PDE, which is defined on a continuous space. So the underlying is continuous, the stock is continuous, the time is continuous. We have to use discrete mesh points, discrete approximation. So we approximate basically the derivatives in the PDE, time and space derivatives, using divided differences or finite differences. That's why it's called the finite difference method, right?
Yeah.
But it could be a Monte Carlo method, which is good as well, because when you're testing your finite difference methods, you you test it as a second opinion Monte Carlo, right? Binomial method as well, which is fine. It's like a simple stochastic equation. In fact, we test what I did we'll talk about later. I got 6 different finite difference methods, and we test each of them with each other, as it were. So if they all give the same answer, it means we're going in the right direction. Okay. Okay. Now, so once I've set up my approximate scheme, my numerical scheme, this is basically a matrix system which has to be solved at every time level until you get to expiration. You have to implement it in C++, for example, based on my main architecture. That's a concurrent activity of mine. I don't start programming. I build. It's like building a house. You make an architecture of your problem. And you start using a module diagram we'll talk about in a moment, and you implement each block independently, and the blocks have very good interfaces with each other. It's a bit like hardware, but in the software world hasn't got that far yet to actually talk about building blocks.
Yeah.
So these are the 4 steps. Any questions on this?
No, I think this is very relevant, especially the case that people usually just start coding straight off the bat, where like coding is just literally doing what's in your mind in the computer, basically. So like you need to have a sort of architecture, like you're saying, or like a plan before you start building. So I think that's very good to mention.
Yeah, it's absolutely vital. I mean, you know how it is, managers will say, just get it working, you know. I also get it working as well in my own approach. I get it working, and then I throw the code away and I start again and make a decent design, basically. But we're getting into software here, but I've been working in software for 40 years, so I keep my blood pressure down, basically. So, but it's true, you got to think about the problem and then start implementing it. Instead of implementing it as what's the but it's obvious, of course, but there's never any time. So, but that's another discussion. That's more politics than anything else. So basically, each of these modules, activities, phases, there's loose coupling. So I'm in phase 2, let's say, that's phase analytical model. I have an unambiguous description of the PDE, right? I really mean unambiguous mathematically. Boundary conditions are defined, the constraints, everything. So when I get to phase 3, which is implementing it using the finite difference method, there's very little backtracking. It's just messing around and heuristics. At least I don't have to. And so that's what I'm talking about. These are very high level concepts will also be mapped into C++ code in a moment when we talk about module diagrams. We actually talk about interfaces, which you've got in languages like C# and the new versions of C++ as well, Java, whatever. So we walk the talk, as it were. So these very high level concepts will have lower level physical implementations, you might say, right? So these are the 4 parts, right? Is that okay?
All clear.
Yep. Absolutely.
So that's my approach. And in the past, there was a comedian called Groucho Marx. These are my principles, and if you don't like them, I've got other ones as well. So that's
the big 4, and then another big 4, big 5.
Another big 4, and maybe 2, for example. It depends how you look at what the requirements are and who your customers are. But everything's possible, so long that you get the only criterion would be get the problem up and running and make sure that the customer is happy, basically. That's what it's all about, right? And you can do it in different ways, right? Okay, so these are 4 ideal phases. Okay.
So
let's carry on. So just an overview of these four phases, so just a bit more than just a one-liner. So the financial model, I'm almost finished with this part. The financial model is the first one. It's basically the goal of this particular approach. You want to price your derivatives. So what's the price of an option? And hedging, we want to find the Greeks, the deltas, the gammas, all this kind of stuff, risk factors as well, right? Calibration. So that's what it's all about. All of this has to be implemented, of course, in some language eventually. Time is a factor because it's time dependent, so it's expiration. See, it's not could be a perpetual option, but basically you're talking about an option which has an expiration. So in my PDE model, time will be a factor. So you've got a derivative with respect to time. So like the theta factor and so on. So basically, we've got a combination of, so all of these models, the financial model is a combination of stochastic variables. So the interest rate could be stochastic. And you've also got deterministic state variables as well, right? So these are just numbers, for example, or just explicit formula. So depending on your models, some models, so for example, the Black-Scholes model, the interest rate is deterministic, correct?
Mm-hmm.
It's fixed.
Yes.
If you're talking about a Cox-Ingersoll-Ross model or a convertible bond or the interest rate is one of the stochastic terms. So it'll have a derivative. So it depends on what you consider stochastic and deterministic. Okay, so the popular models are, of course, everybody knows about the Black-Scholes equation. Yeah. We've also got Holloway, which I've worked out in the last couple of years with myself, about using the same methods which I got working for Black-Scholes. In other words, the same PDE methods and finite difference methods as well. Vasicek, of course, Cox-Ingersoll-Ross. Yeah. You've also got the up-and-coming nonlinear problems, which have not got much airwaves. So, for example, uncertain volatility. I've written a few articles on this with some people, some theses of my students. So, in other words, like the volatility, for example, in Black-Scholes, volatility is a fixed number, right? But you've also got stochastic volatility. So you get into the Heston model. So the stochastic volatility will be a stochastic variable. But uncertain volatility is something completely different. You can't say it's not deterministic, it's not stochastic. All you can say is in this particular model that you know that your volatility is between, let's say, 10% and 40% or something. So you define the corresponding PDEs based on this assumption, right? So that's we got some PDEs on volatility and this kind of volatility that you can. I've got the references there to see. Rough Heston model as well. Yeah, it's also got what you did as well, comparing classical finite difference methods with ANNs, what's that? Artificial neural networks. It's on my site as well. Somebody did an MSc thesis, and basically for the rough Heston model, this was worked out by Jim Gatherell and Baruch, comparing ANN to classical finite difference methods. The ANN was something 15 times slower than the classical methods. So there you go. So you can think about that. So that's basically the financial model. The analytical model is just PDEs, basically. Something I've been doing for 50 years now. So it's maybe define a new career now, but most of the PDEs are convection, diffusion, reaction types. Yeah. Convection is the drift for some people. People call it if you're a rocket scientist, you call it advection. Diffusion is just the volatility term, you might say. So these are quite complicated equations numerically. Mm-hmm. Most people tackling these problems in finance, they think it's just like a diffusion equation. But the convection term really screws everything up to a certain extent. We've got one-factor models, we've got n-factor models. So the classical Black-Scholes is one factor. Mm-hmm. So we define a so-called initial boundary value problem boundary. So you define your PDE in the boundaries, or your underlying stock, for example, goes from 0 to infinity, for example.
Yeah.
And the initial conditions are really your payoff in real life. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. So we're posing all of this financial stuff as a PDE, and that's why I developed all these courses. So it's think positively. Most quants have just get a book on finite difference and think, oh, I just replace my derivatives by finite difference and off I go. It doesn't really work that way. Anyway, so PDEs and then SDEs, basically, and Einstein proved this in 1905. Everybody goes on about Einstein's theory of relativity, but one is Annus Mirabilis year when he wrote all these famous articles.
Yeah.
One of which was that Brownian motion and the heat equation are effectively equivalent.
Okay.
So when you're talking, I do SDEs, I don't do PDEs. Well, you actually do, but you just don't know the article yet. So basically, the Fokker-Planck equation, which is the description of probability distributions, and so that's fun. Fokker-Planck is fundamental, actually, PDE. And Feynman-Kac theorem generalized Einstein's results, saying that you got a representation of an option price as an integral. In other words, it's stochastic or an integral, and the PDE representations are the same. So there's a lot of work to be done. And to a certain extent, very little has been done. I've seen 1 or 2 articles on Fokker-Planck. I've kind of worked it out, but I haven't written it up yet due to circumstances. So there's a lot of work to be done, but that's basically the PDE model. Any initial questions on this? Or?
No, I think we'll also get to some of the questions in 2 slides time, and then we can go over some of these things very shortly.
Yeah. This is completely overview now. It's just buzzwords at the moment, right?
Yeah.
I can get into detail if you want. There's no problem. Okay, so just some remarks on what's so special about the approach I'm taking. Well, first of all, I did all my research in this area, so right down to the nitty-gritty. In most PDE models in people in finance, you got your domain. So let's take a very simple Black-Scholes. The underlying stock goes from 0 to infinity, right? So unfortunately, you can't put infinity in the computer, so you have to truncate. People truncate. So they say, okay, take the stock to be at NOS 400 or something, or 5 times the variance of the volatility, or some hand-waving heuristic. What I transform my PDE model in space, let's say, from 0 to infinity to 0 to 1, so on the unit interval. So your PDE gets changes because you're using derivatives of a derivative, but basically I analyze my transformed PDE using finite difference methods. So I've got no truncation anymore, so there's no approximation, right?
Mm-hmm.
The PDE becomes a bit more complicated, but you get used to it after you've done it a few times. So we have conservative forms and non-conservative forms. That's a bit scary now. Basically, conservative form means that in general, you've got the convection and the diffusion terms. I, as it were, suck in the convection term into the diffusion part, which means that the convection term, the explicit form of this term disappears from my PDE.
Mm-hmm.
Which is it's really cool because a number of big advantages we'll talk about later. Rigorous boundary conditions. One of the research issues I worked on was this so-called Ficere theory, which is generalization of the Feller condition. Once I've transformed my PD to a unit interval, everything just falls apart in the good sense of the word, because I can tell you mathematically if a boundary condition is needed on the boundary or not, which is nice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And up till now, people are doing hand waving. Is that what you call it in Dutch? Hand waving?
I think so. Hand gestures. Symbol.
Yeah, try something on the it's called far field condition, I think. Yeah. On the far field condition, you just say, the derivative, the second derivative is equal to 0 or something, and you start messing around on the boundaries.
Yeah.
You don't need it anymore with my figure theory. And also more generally the Green's function to show that the PDE is a well-posed problem mathematically. So everything just falls apart in the good sense. And that brings me on to well-posedness, of course, energy inequalities on Green's function, exactly. So that's basic stuff in the 1970s when I undergrad, basically. The penny didn't drop at the time, but now it does.
Yeah.
Okay, so what you also want with the PDEs is computing these sensitivities. There's a whole discussion on how to approximate the Greeks. One option is, and we actually worked it out, it's in my book, and one of my students, MSc students from Birmingham in the UK, what you can actually, what you do is you start off, let's say, with your Black-Scholes PDE, right? It's the UDT is equal to something, blah, blah, blah. So you differentiate each side of your PDE with respect to, let's say S to get the delta. So basically, long story short, you get a PDE for the actual delta, and you solve the delta. You solve the PDE problem for the delta using the same techniques that I use always for PDEs and finite difference methods. Cool, eh?
Yeah. No, it's actually also just seeing the whole transition sort of is really cool to see. So like actually like from like all the way back in the day, it's like how it sort of progresses and then finally puzzle pieces start to like fall together. It's really nice.
Yeah. So that's my student did a very good thesis on it's called the Cauchy-Kowalewski theorem, which is like from the I was going to say the last century, but it's from the almost the 19th century. Doesn't make it bad. It always works. Once mathematics works, it works forever, of course. So these are some of the mathematical innovations that I actually worked at. I'm fairly happy with my progress, so I can I want to apply it to other things as well, or maybe people can use it as well. So
yeah,
I've got my online courses for ODE, PDEs, finite difference methods that my students who go to the universities, let's say the States, for example, Baruch and UCB, actually have to learn all of this stuff from me, because otherwise I don't accept hand waving, right?
You shouldn't.
No. There's something with hand waving. If it's only a prototype you can throw away, that's fine as well. You can hand wave all day, but when it gets into production, no hand waving.
Yeah.
So that's the mathematical innovation. So basically, it's all documented, of course, in my articles, and I got my C++ book, number of C++ books, but my most recent 2022 book on PDE. So it's all documented in here.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the overview, the global overview.
Yeah.
So it's, I've just set the scene. So we'll take it from there. Let me know what you want to do now.
No, so I was also curious in general. So you had during your PhD at Trinity College in the late 70s, it was on convection-diffusion PDEs. And then later you realize that program, or that this sort of subsumed to be like Black-Scholes as a special case, right? So how did that sort of moment of realization like fall into place for you? Was it something that you were like, oh, all of a sudden people are all talking about like Black-Scholes and everyone is talking about? Is that?
I'm glad you asked that question. It was like, you mean an epiphany or something, or Eureka or something?
Yeah, exactly. Right? That must have felt amazing, no?
Okay. Well, let me bore you with some detail. Anyway, in the 1990s, I was working with C++ in all these companies all over Europe, like Telecom and in the Netherlands, in the south of the Netherlands, all these companies which make machines and printers and hardware, software interfaces, medical systems, etc., etc. And I said, well, yeah, it's going pretty well. I've got, hey, wait a minute, I've got some family in New York. And so my uncle went to have gone to New York. I was in New York in 1972, which is a bit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the 1990s, I said, well, I saw an advertisement for the mathematics of the derivatives modeling. God, I'm going there. It's like, so I went to New York. I want to be there. I want to see what's going on.
Yeah.
So I knew nothing, but I thought I knew nothing. But so all of these famous guys, I didn't know who people were at the time. But anyway, so everybody was giving their little speech and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, wait a minute. All of these guys are talking about numerical methods, which is my background as well, and Black-Scholes, PDEs. And to be honest, many of them were using these methods as recipes.
Yeah.
You know, if I make some pasta, I just open a recipe book and I try and see how it works. But I said, wait a minute, this method doesn't work because of certain reasons, blah blah blah. So eventually I got about 6 job offers in that week at the conference. So
Yeah.
so who's this guy from what planet is this guy coming from? So that was to answer your question, Vincent. This was the Eureka moment, you know.
Yeah, and you never wanted to work on Wall Street, right, or any of that, or was that ever like a consideration that you were like, okay, I'm going
at a
into
certain stage, yeah, but I mean, you know, how should I put it? I live in Holland, so I'm effectively Dutch, and we didn't want to move, you know, my family wouldn't move.
Yeah.
So I'm basically a European there, but it's no, you know. Yeah, but I wouldn't work in Wall Street. I mean, I set up my own company.
Yeah.
So
it's much more, I feel like much more rewarding in the long run. That like you have something.
As it turned out, now I'm 73 now, believe it or not. But it's I can make my own decisions and make my own mistakes. So,
yeah.
So
I think also Arnav had also one more question, I think, regarding slides 1 to 9.
Yeah. My question was more on like qualitative aspect of just when you started. Now, like for context to our listeners, Dr. Duffy has written over like 10 books now over the course of his career. And now, Dr. Duffy, when you wrote your first book on C++ for finance, how mature was the field? Like, were practitioners even using PDEs at that point, or was it still quite a young concept?
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I published my first book in 2004 for C++, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now C++ was really primitive. There was no libraries really. I had to make my own matrix libraries, for example. But the field, maybe I go back just 10 years previously. I actually got a job consulting, working on C++ in a large Dutch bank. They were actually creating a pricing library, adding on to a pricing library from Canada. So there was most of the stuff I was working on Unix at the time, right? So Windows didn't really exist, or DOS. The best C++ compiler at the time was Borland Turbo C++ 3.1, which is a great compiler. But everything was under Linux, or it wasn't even Linux, it was Unix. So all the pricing libraries, as far as I can see, started to emerge in the early 1990s for obvious reasons, speed and whatever. And so it was they were very little known. When I wrote my first, going back to your question on the book, when I wrote my first book, I thought, all these guys in finance, they know everything about C++. All they actually want to know is just some numerical methods or something. It turned out that most people did not know C++, basically. Yeah. At least when they talk to me, I know. But so at the time, my very first C++ book, I assumed that everybody knows everything about C and pointers and all this stuff. Not true.
Nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. Based on this crucial piece of knowledge, my C++ course, which I developed I didn't make the same mistake twice. So my C++ course, which I developed for Quantnet on Baruch, the first 2 modules are devoted to learning C and all the nitty-gritty pointers and all this stuff, which is boring. You've got to learn it, right?
Yeah.
So that with the end result now, in contrast to maybe when people bought my book in the beginning, is that even people without any knowledge of C++ can know about C++ after 16 weeks in Baruch, which is cool.
That's
so
really
you have
cool.
to, the message, the basic message is you've got to get the foundations correct.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree.
The follow-on remark, just to bore you with some more detail, the follow-on remark is if you want to do finite difference methods, people talk about, you first of all have to know about ODE and PDE.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got those courses as well. So the people in the past, I would let people do the finite difference method.
Yeah.
We say, okay, now guys, we're now going to approximate the heat equation using finite difference method. So people can get their heads around finite difference methods, but they don't actually understand the structure of the what the heat equation really is. So that's a bit of a pity. So we went back one step backwards, as it were. Okay.
Yeah.
So we discussed the complete unambiguous specification of the heat equation, and then you can go on to your finite difference methods.
Yeah. So you basically built all the building blocks for someone to really be successful in this field.
Yeah, there's not. At least I think so.
Yeah.
There's no shortcut. It just takes time to learn. Eh?
Do you think it's still like with the whole AI transition, for people extremely relevant to know like some of these like basics of like how the languages are built, and then also like how the actual like mathematics? I think it's already like a sort of rhetorical question, but maybe you can elaborate a bit more for people who think, oh, AI is gonna replace everything and I can just code whatever I want, and don't need to know the basics.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really dangerous.
Yeah.
It's AI. If you ask AI, well, they fixed it actually. Is 8 point, to take a specific example, is 8.11 greater than 8.9?
Mm-hmm.
You know what ChatGPT says?
No.
8.11 is greater than 8.99. I'm not kidding. Well, I don't. I've got my own ChatGPT. I've got a library here full of books from the last 100 years.
Yeah.
So I've got all my I've done all my learning.
Yeah.
In that sense, I use AI. It's useful for certain things. I use it because when I get tired sometimes, and I want to test out a new C++ library. You get all the stuff, including files and all the compiler errors, and I just said to AI, to give me a simple example of how it works, and then I carry on myself.
Yeah.
So it's what you would do anyway. If you buy a book or something, or you Google, it's the same idea. So, but I don't let it do the thinking for me. It doesn't work.
No.
For me, anyway.
No.
Yeah.
I think also with the high level mathematics, you should never trust it, or to like, you can use it as like a sort of implementation step, but like not as like a thinking step. I agree.
Yeah. And another follow-on is another big danger, which it's for me. I get really annoyed when people do it. My students try to do my PDE exercises using ChatGPT. It's annoying. It's stupid. But
I don't think it's ever going to give like a proper like solution, right?
No.
But people use it to try to con me, basically. Yeah, but you can't fool me. But it's just but it's no good. You got to do the legwork yourself, basically.
All right. I think we can go to the next topic, because now we've laid like the basis of everything. So I think it's very good for the listeners that they have like a foundation now.
Okie doke. Part 2 coming up. The numerical approximation of the PDE. So we mentioned the PDE already.
Yep.
And we'll talk about PDEs later on, but I want to approximate it using, in this particular case, the finite difference method. There are all kinds of numerical methods, all kinds of finite difference methods. We can't talk about everything, so we just focus. We reduce the scope to looking at FDM. Right? It's a huge area.
Yeah.
So some people think it's just a matter of replacing derivatives in my PDE by divided differences in my finite difference method. Right?
Yeah.
Not true. Because you can analyze FDM models as well. You can write down the schemes, but you have to analyze it to see if it works. Yeah, That's another story. So the PDE problem, long story short, the PDE problem in continuous space and time is replaced by finite difference schemes in discrete space. Could be semi-discrete. That's one topic we can talk about later on. Basically, if you've got a partial differential equation, you can discretize only in the space. So you get a system of ordinary differential equations, which you can plug into an ODE solver, ordinary differential equation solver. But anyway, it's long story short. Again, it's discrete time and space and time marching. So we solve the problem by at time equals 0. So I work at time equals 0, not time equals expiration, which you see a lot of books as well. As PDEs start at time 0, you just change your coordinates, and what used to be expiration time is now 0. You split the problem starting off with your payout function. So it's called time marching. So at every time level, discrete time level, we're solving a matrix system. Okay. So all kinds of schemes depending on the accuracy you want. So you want good accuracy, bad accuracy. You want it to be stable, of course. Efficiency, it's got to be fast. We got some remarks on efficiency. Ease of implementation. Something might be very difficult to implement. Are you going to do it? Probably not. Just a remark from this mathematician, George Polya. It's better to solve a PDE in 5 different ways than to solve 5 PDEs in one way, basically.
Yeah.
So it's sort of tunnel vision. A lot of people just have one method and that's it.
Yeah.
What we normally do is, well, even in finance, people try out the finite difference method, and they actually compare it to the, the Monte Carlo method. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's the same here. Okay, so that's the numerical approach. The big 5. We're talking about the big 5. A moment ago we had big 4. Now it's the big 5.
we're going across all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's inflation.
Yeah.
So as I've mentioned already, it started in the USA and the Soviet Union in the 1960s. And oil, gas, rocket science, literally, nuclear engineering, Soviet and developed by the corresponding researchers. Soviet methods were not very well known. And just to fire a shot across the bows. No one was fired for using ADI and Crank-Nicolson. And Crank-Nicolson's got no H. People write Crank-Nicolson with a H, which is incorrect. But the alternatives are, so that's a good early warning signal. So basically the methods I want to talk about, which are documented in my books and work, first of all, in the West, let me take random. Jim Douglas Jr., Ratchford, these are guys in the oil industry at the time. Gilbert Strang, who's very well known for his linear algebra books at MIT. Strang is, by the way, my academic grandfather. So he was the supervisor of my supervisor from MIT at the time. So he got the Strang method as well. That's part of one of the methods in the repertoire, you might say. Then we got the Soviet scientist Marchuk method we'll talk about. That's a very good method. One of my colleagues I worked with, he actually applied the Marchuk method for mortgage PDEs in New York using his method, where the ADI method did not work. Yanyenko method, which is also very good, plus many more. But the something I discovered even before the 1960s, well, I didn't discover it before the 1960s, but it was invented before the 1960s, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The guy, Saul'yev, he's got the ADE method. It's called alternating direction explicit method.
Okay.
Which is unconditionally stable, but you don't need a matrix system at each time level. So it's really fast. Why was it invented? Because in the 1950s, you didn't have big computers.
Yeah.
Computers were really expensive. So so for example, one of their promises was that what they liked was that they actually could solve the heat equation. It's the basic heat equation with a mesh size of 1/60, which is not huge, but it took them 10 minutes to solve the heat equation. So that would not be considered to be fast now, right? But at the time it was very fast. So I was the first to apply and promote the Saul'yev method in finance. And some people have written articles on it, and I've written some articles myself with people, right?
Yeah.
So these are the big five, let's say. So so just to summarize, we have a semi-infinite interval. On the semi-infinite interval in two factors, it's transformed to a unit domain problem. Yeah? You've got correlation terms, which is a big pain for a lot of people in computational finance. I don't know, we're just making a mountain out of a molehill, so we solved that problem as well. But with ADI, it gives problems. Okay, so we transform one into a PDE, figure theory I talked about. So basically, many of the major, I would say, existing problems that quants kept asking me at courses, for example, have been kind of resolved mathematically, and numerically as well. It works as well. So it's not just mathematically on paper; it's also works in the computer. Okay, so let's just global benchmark example, just to give you a feeling for what's going on. We took again my on just a normal PC. I'm not into speed, but it's relative speed.
Yeah.
So we take nx, ny. These are the mesh sizes in the two underlyings, S1, S2, you might say, and nt is the time step. So that's huge. I mean, it's overkill.
Yeah.
But I want to make a Marchuk's method. So basically, two consecutive splitting methods of the Crank-Nicolson. He took one for 5 seconds. The Craig-Sneyd method is 77 seconds. Yanyenko's method, which is more or less the same. So ADI is really like Yanyenko's method, first order accuracy actually.
Yeah.
Predictor-Corrector as well. It's another method. 56 seconds, not too bad. And the Saul'yev method, the basic 21 seconds. So
sure. So much faster, yeah.
It's a big difference. Okay, so that was my second break. So I just carry on with the rest of the.
Yeah. No, I think also like this is all very clear. So I think that's all
so
good.
Just carry on now, eh? Right.
Yeah. No, go for it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now I've given you a little overview of the finite difference methods. No details just yet, but I want to talk about the implementation model, actually defining it. So basically, having set up my finite difference schemes, I want to implement it. So basically, we're talking about software development, and that's it's got to keep working on maintenance. So you're basically in the area of software design and software quality and so on. So we use modular decomposition, it's called. So we break a system into sub-modules, subsystems. We'll talk about it in a moment. And what's very important are two buzzwords, cohesion and loose coupling. Cohesion means that each module is responsible for its own input and output. So they're sort of independent, how do you say in English? Self-supporting, you might say, right?
Yeah.
And loose coupling, there's very little coupling between the modules, because if one module changes, we want minimal changes in the downstream modules, right?
Yeah.
It's just pure software. Anyway, so what we do is we use interfaces to let the modules speak to each other using interfaces.
Yeah.
Specifically in C++20 now, provided required interfaces. So each, and which is something you don't have in normal C++, let's say, each module is implemented as a C++ class, possibly. It provides certain interfaces to other modules who need it, but it also requires interfaces from other modules. So if you want to do something, I can do it for you, but I need something, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And these are unambiguously specified in C++ concepts, it's called.
Okay.
which I spent a number of years trying to work out in my head how it actually works, after having been brainwashed by using, you know, inheritance. Everybody talks about inheritance.
Yeah.
So it's in my Baruch courses as well. We did concepts in the advanced course.
Okay.
Anyway, so basically it's kind of finished. Once I got my module diagram up and running, I'm pretty happy. We know how to implement it. So we don't use so much inheritance anymore. I never did really, but people in the 1990s, it was utopia. It was like everybody was going crazy about inheritance and trying to find classes and so on.
Yeah.
Classes are unstable and context sensitive. But it's another story we can go into. But I prefer to use composition. You build composition whole parts patterns. They are actually called. You build simple. You build more complex objects from simpler objects, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just a different design technique. So we realize we realize flexibility. So you can change stuff. You switch one module for another module, and everything keeps working. You might say efficiency using. So we use a lot of design patterns, right?
Mm-hmm.
So C++ is the language of choice. Python is fine as well. So you can use for types. Python is a great language for learning numerical methods, actually. So if I'm giving a course, PDEs, I let the students actually write the prototype in Python. The objective is not to learn Python or programming. The objective is to use Python as a medium in order to understand numerical methods, right? Yeah. And in my opinion, people tend to concentrate too much on the wrong kind of C++ functionality. The 20% is realized by 80%. So it's the Pareto 28 rule. All the other stuff is just, it's nice to have.
So it's mainly for speed that people would use C++ rather than Python, and more flexibility, or?
Yeah, it's speed, of course. Yeah. But you use Python to understand what you're trying to do in the first place. Yeah. You can program something, you don't have a clue what you're doing. Whereas if you can use Python to understand the problem, and because you can change, you know, it's iterative development, and once you understand the problem in Python, it's much faster than C++. Then you can actually say, for example, now I'm going to implement the solution in C++. Okay?
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
So we have my context diagram we'll talk about in a moment. Resources. So here's Duffy. You can read this in your own free time. So
people can also like pause the slides here. So if they wanna check it out, like you can browse through these. That's fine.
I won't go through. I won't bore you with the details, but it's readable, right? So,
exactly.
And more resources as well. Alex Levin in New York.
Yeah.
He applied Marchuk scheme.
I've heard this a lot during some also of the books of like early quant finance, and these are like very like familiar names.
Yeah. So Rudolf Shepard, he did his MSc thesis. It was in Johannesburg. I actually met him in Johannesburg. So he applied the Yanyenko method to the Heston model, right?
Okay.
They got very good results.
Yeah.
Yanyenko scheme. So I got something like 40 MSc students in the University of Birmingham. I supervised. Susanna Bukova, she did a PhD on the ADE. So current practice, just a number of points here. So basically,
my 2-minute rant. Yeah.
Sorry, say it again.
My 2-minute rant. I like that title.
Well, if you're not happy, I can build it up into a 10-minute rant. No problem.
No, I think that's all good. It's all good.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Just the current situation at the moment in finance, or PDE approach, convection diffusion and reaction equations I've told you about already on semi-infinite intervals. People use a lot of domain truncation. It's a standard trial and error approach for boundary conditions.
Yeah.
Most PDEs are written in non-conservative form, in the sense that the convection term can explicitly be seen in the PDE, and it has to be explicitly approximated. Whereas the other, as I said, in the conservative form, you can suck in the convection term into your mixed life easier. But that's the numerical approach. Okay, P4 then is basically PDE for equities is fairly well known in general.
Yeah.
It's less well known in fixed interest rate and hybrid products, so for whole white, for example. But we've resolved that problem in the intervening time on my clients or customers as well.
Yeah.
So basically I'm saying is, you've done it for equities, now you can see it for interest rate. There's basically no difference to it at a certain level. Of course, you've got you have to calibrate using the interest rate models, but that's another story. But effectively, at the it's all PDEs. So basically,
how quickly is this actually moving? Like, how quickly is this actually moving? Because there must be like very few people that actually know what they're talking about. So how do you see that it's more there's more attention towards PDEs now, or like how fast is research moving in this field?
Well, I can make 3 remarks. It's not, as far as I can see, but who am I? But the people tend to use books or results which have been known for the last number of years, without actually trying to do something else. First of all, right? It's like so it's not. I mean, it's not moving very quickly. But we've got something like well, my clients are actually using it. So the but I don't see the drivers of the PDEs at the moment beyond myself. Yeah. Yeah. Is that a kind of an answer to your question?
No. That's a good answer. Yes.
I'm getting a bit scared because I think I'm the only one actually. So it's like it's like I feel like Tom Hanks on that desert island, you know.
Yeah, I hope someone will come to rescue you from the island. Or
well, we don't have any coconuts here. That's the big difference.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, my P4. So there's lots of. I just carry on. I mean, I don't care. I mean.
Go for it. We'll ask questions if we have any.
So it's not my position to tell people what they have to do, but the bad news is that it's not moving fast enough. Seriously. Yeah. The good news is I've got courses ready for people.
Yeah, they're just I don't know. I think it's just anyway, the effort and like too complex or something. I don't know.
I think seriously, there's all this AI stuff and the artificial neural networks and the buzzwords that destroyed a lot of stuff as well. Basically, yeah. I mean, it was a number of years ago. It was 10 years ago, maybe. Somebody wrote an article on applied artificial neural networks for a Heston model, the 2-factor model, right? And they were saying something like it's 10,000 times faster than the finite difference method.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's there's a word for that. I won't say it's a family program here, but basically that's nonsense. But the what he really meant to say was the author is that they actually did the training of the artificial neural network offline for 1 week. And when they came in on the 1 week later, it just ran an interpolation module, right? Yeah. That's not what I'm talking. That's nothing. So that's false pretenses, basically. But anyway, that's.
If we want more views, we can just call it Daniel's take on AI.
My rant. I can make it easily into a 2-hour rant, but a coffee break. But my student did the rough Heston model actually. It was very good.
Yeah.
He showed that the neural networks are 15 times slower. So there you go.
Sure.
Anyway, so the current Crank-Nicolson method of ADI, Craig-Sneyd. I think it was Vincent's question. The P6. Frozen in time, eh?
Yeah.
Things haven't really moved. People use divided differences to compute Greeks. So we've got 6 methods. Automatic differentiation, AED, is becoming popular for Greeks. And you've probably heard about it.
Yeah.
It's fine, but it's for me a kind of computer science solution. It's you need memory. You build a graph up in memory. Depending on the context, of course, there's no universal method which works always. Yeah. But basically, if you use the Cauchy-Kowalewski theorem, you just differentiate your Black-Scholes, you get a PDE for your Greek. Off you go. using the same robust numerical methods you use for the normal option price, right?
Yeah.
So it's not for me to say what people should do. I'm just saying what I do. The mapping from algorithms to code is not documented. It's just a bit ad hoc. Anyway, stop. So here's some of the source of great mathematics is Paul Halmos. You take concrete examples, get it worked out, and when you get your concrete example worked out, you generalize it. So that's the way I do it anyway. And instead of kind of bottom up or assembly. Okay, so what's new? The full life cycle. We do everything from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
People talk about on sites and pure mathematics, whatever. I don't know. I have no idea what pure mathematics is. It's just mathematics, but people tend to break things up into artificial silos, pure applied numerical. State-of-the-art finite difference methods. Well, they're about 70 years old, but that's fine. That's state-of-the-art.
Yeah.
Here's the results from other branches of mathematics, and it's my own research.
Yep.
So I've talked about this already, so this is fairly well-known stuff.
Yeah.
I'm repeating myself, but sometimes that's necessary.
Yeah,
So
and these slides people can also rewind, so that's also like
rewind. And what did he say? I'm going to say it again. But basically, this is a summary of all the mathematics I'm using, which is robust.
Yep.
So basically, all these methods I talked about already: Strine, Douglas, Ratchford. Exact formula, analytical formula work if you can find them, but normally you can't. Basically, you need to use cubic splines for interpolation, automatic differentiation, something else, complex step method as well. The continuous sensitivity equations is just what I talked about. Is the Cauchy-Kovalevsky. You differentiate your PDE to get a PDE for the Greek, and that continuous sensitivity equations are used in airplane design and fluid mechanics as well. So it's not. So have a look at Matt Robinson's thesis. Something for everybody, yeah. So test cases, yeah. For example, lots of test cases. Okay, the standard European and American Black-Scholes equation, everybody knows.
Yeah.
Multi-asset basket options, the spread options I'll talk about. Asian options as well. We wrote an article on this. It's called Anchoring Model. I wrote it with Alan Lewis is the Heston expert, and Paul Wilmot, which probably everybody knows. Interest rate models as well. I've done, as I've said, commodities, spread options, convertible bonds. Somebody actually did the convertible bond thesis as well with me, and it's the most robust of all the methods because convertible bonds are a combination of underlying stock price, and also the interest rate is also stochastic. So it's a hybrid model. So it's quite nice. So not only is it Black-Scholes and interest rate, it's a combination.
Yeah.
And my methods or the methods work as well. So that's quite nice. I forgot to mention here jump models, which are not PDEs but PIDEs, so partial integral differential equations.
Oh, yeah.
So the integral terms. So there's just a range of test cases. So in principle, it can be done for other stuff as well.
Which ones of these is numerically the most intense or difficult, like computing wise?
Sorry, which numerical method?
Yeah, no, which one of these test cases would you say is still like the most challenging, or is it always the sort of same procedure?
You mean comparing an equity option to an interest rate model? Exactly. Well, as far as the PDE is concerned, they are kind of more or less the same.
Okay.
Numerically, almost also the same, more or less. Things can become a bit tricky when you've got embedded optionality, and you have to bring in calibration effects and so on. The Heston model, that's a tricky one as well, because of the boundary conditions. You know the Feller condition. Yeah, the Feller condition has to be satisfied, and that can be quite tricky. But in general, most of them are more or less the same as each other. Of course, the devil is in the detail.
Yeah.
And then I had another question, Dr. Duffy. We're now looking at the 6 methods to compute Greeks, right? But practitioners mostly use divided differences. What are the better alternatives and why aren't they being used, in your opinion?
Yeah.
Divided differences are no good, basically, anymore. That's past tense for a number of reasons, because people are using the method. The methods for approximating the Greeks. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, the Cauchy-Kowalewski, I said let each Greek be modeled as a PDE. That's the first one.
Yeah.
And AAD, automatic algorithmic differentiation, which is popular in AI. That's a popular one.
Yeah.
A complex step method actually is something else, but these are the two methods which may be much better.
Okay.
But the divided differences lead to catastrophic cancellation, basically. So it doesn't work. I think I've written on LinkedIn an article on the different methods. But the Cauchy-Kowalewski and the AAD model are probably the most popular, the best. These methods are documented in my book, 2022 book.
Okay.
As well.
Yeah, we'll also
but the
mention that.
difference I would take I think it's called bumping, isn't it? It's sensitivity analysis. It's called it. Just by shifting, you see what the binomial method as well. So in the binomial method, if you want to approximate the delta, you just shift the binomial tree up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And you start taking divided differences and so on. It's unstable, basically, numerically.
Yeah.
It leads to catastrophic cancellation in subtraction. Because basically you've got the truncation errors, which is like a function of the mesh size, might be h squared, for example. At a certain stage, when you take a smaller mesh size, you start introducing rounding errors because computers only have a finite accuracy.
Yeah.
So everything becomes zero. So you subtract 0 from 0, you get 0.
Yeah. Okay. No, that makes sense.
But anyway, there's more information later on. Yeah.
Yep.
So these are test cases. So in general, start on something and try something else as well. So most of them, as far as I can see at this moment in time, they're more or less the same. Even the convertible bond, which is a two-factor model as well, and it's got embedded coupons. You got the when you're time marching at each certain time steps, you have to compute the new coupon rate and stuff like this, right?
Yeah.
So then it becomes a bit tricky, and you got the mostly you get the numerical problems, oscillations.
Okay.
So in real life, that's where the big problems come around. That you're not getting the answer that you want. You've had this before, I presume, in your life. You know, it's producing something, but it's unstable or something, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to debug, basically. So this is my part 2 finished.
Yep. No, all clear. I think we also asked the questions. I think you can proceed because if we have any questions also in between, we'll ask.
Yeah. So we go to part 3 now. Is that okay?
Yeah. Go for it.
Absolutely.
Is everybody awake? Because it's getting more.
So this is the more like
listening.
technical, the more technical section, right?
Can you handle the pressure? It's,
I don't know yet. We'll see.
I'm glad I went. I'm glad I went early to bed last night, so now I'm a bit fit. Okay, so basically the nitty gritty? On numerical stuff, nitty gritty for me in this particular context means I'm going to show you the actual PDE for a spread option.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you what we do with the PDE, and I'm going to talk about some numerical methods for the PDE.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah. No, that's perfect.
So fasten your seatbelts. The as far as finite difference methods are concerned, point 1 is the John von Neumann Fourier stability analysis, that people always use. Like it's like the holy hand grenade of Antioch. If you call it, it must be good.
Mm-hmm.
The bad news is it only works for linear initial value problems, PDEs. So if your problem is non-linear, you cannot apply the stability analysis.
Okay.
And if you've got boundary conditions, it also doesn't work. But people do it anyway. I do it. But not as my first opinion, as a second opinion. We use different methods.
Okay.
So basically, Crank-Nicolson, I wrote an article in the Wilmot Journal 2004 showing that these Crank-Nicolson gives oscillations. It's not L-stable, it's called. It's a technical term. It's A-stable only. So it gives oscillations. It's mostly okay, except when you're trying to find the delta at the strike price, it gives wiggles. Apart from that, it's fine, you know.
Okay.
So that's good news or bad news, depending on. So that's my article. Okay, so let's carry on. So basically, it's getting heavy. I use the continuous semigroup theory of Cauchy problems, initial value problems for PDEs, and basically all the splitting methods are derived from this theory, which is quite nice. So you only have to understand the semigroup theory once, and it's all the same, basically.
Okay.
That's mathematics. So basically, there are two ways of splitting multi-dimensional problems into a sequence of lower dimensional problems. One is called component. So let's say I've got, for example, a spread option, indeed, S1, S2, so the two underlyings. I solve in two directions. In the first case, I solve in the S1 direction. Yeah. And then at the next level, I solve in the S2 direction, and I take an average or something afterwards. So these are the components, the dimensional, it's called dimensional splitting. But you've also got operator splitting, and that's from Gilbert Strang. His method splits in the diffusion terms only. So you solve the first part of your legs. It's got two legs. Chuka's got four legs, but these methods have two legs, literally. You split in the first direction, in the first case, only in the diffusion PDE, and the second part you split along the convection. So that's because you want to prove that everything is okay, energy inequalities, well posed problems, good schemes, blah blah blah. Yeah. So here we have a sketch. So let's take a two-dimensional problem. I call it X and Y now because X can be later on something else. So the Y, and I've got my bounded domain. So I've already converted my problem to a fixed domain, and we got the boundary. So you have a partial differential equation in the boundary, in the domain, and you got here, it's third dimension, and it's initial value problem. So I have to define my initial conditions, but also my boundary conditions. Okay, so this is a two-factor convection diffusion equation, of course. It's a quarter plane, so we transform into unit squares, and we use the same methods we talked about already. So that's should be, I've said it 3 times already, so it should be pretty clear now what I mean. Secret here. Okay, so now we're getting into nitty gritty. So let's just pause here for a while and then think about it. Yeah. So basically, if you look at the little diagram I wrote, so on the left-hand side, I got S1 and S2. These are going into infinity, you see? Yeah. Because S1 can be an infinite stock. So what I do is use a certain transformation. It's quite easy. So I transform my problem in the quarter plane into a problem into a fixed domain, right? So basically, if you look at the terms here, I got S1, S2. You can see that, can you? Yeah. We've got let's just focus on S1 now because S2 is the same story. Basically, the first term, I got D2FDS1 squared. You see that, of course? Yeah. Term. We've also got DFDS1 as well. That's called the convection term, right? Yeah. So you got your fixed interest rate and your dividend and whatever, and the volatilities, of course. The interesting part here is you've got the rho sigma 1, sigma 2, blah, 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 D2F, DS1, DS2, correct? Yeah. Yes. This is the correlation term. Yep. So looking at this, we have to pose this. This is just a differential equation, which everybody writes up in articles, but nobody writes down what the boundary conditions are. Yeah. So that's the easy part. That's the difficult part. So anybody can write down a differential equation. Yeah. But what I do is I transform into a domain. We'll talk about the numerical methods now. Let's just carry on. So basically, let me talk about this problem, the original problem here now. We're back in the PDE. So the spread option is S1 minus S2, for example. So they were talking about a spread option or a min or a max of options.
Yeah.
So basically, I've got the second equation is we've got a call on the spread. So S minus K or K minus S. So this is a single factor. So I'm using my notation. S is S1 minus S2. You see?
Yep.
So this is a call on the spread or a put on the spread. It should be fairly well.
This is all quite. We assume the listeners know this kind of stuff. I think. What do you think, Arnav?
So that's my setting. That's why I'm posing the setting. So basically, I'm transforming. As I've said, I'm not working on an infinite interval. I'm working on a finite interval. So what I do is, I'm repeating myself. It's the same as before. I'm making it a bit more explicit. S1, S2 are between 0 and infinity.
Yeah.
Now I'm defining a domain transformation. I read from the bottom first. I'm defining a new variable x, new variable y.
Yeah.
X is equal to S1 divided by S1 plus alpha 1, right? Y is something similar. And x and y will go between 0 and 1, you see? You can check it out yourself. So basically, I want to define, using a bit of differentiation you learned in high school, I transform my original PDE into a PDE on the unit interval, okay?
Yeah.
So you can check it out now. If you just check it out on a piece of paper now, the new differential equation is what you see on the first two lines, right?
Yeah.
So it's quite nice.
So just for the listeners, why is it so important to define the boundary conditions?
Why?
Yeah, exactly. Just for the listeners, so they have a bit more context regarding when you were mentioning that was the most challenging part. Why do a lot of researchers leave it out also, and why is it so important to include it?
Yeah, they haven't done my courses. Why is it important? Because seriously, because the problems haven't been documented for finance, except by me.
Yeah.
Basically, so that's a serious answer, right? Even in certain areas of PDE theory and journals and so on, it's all kind of very specific, right? A follow-on remark is most people probably don't do properly PDE courses in university. But I came across it. And so I worked it out for myself. And it was always a major issue giving courses. You're starting to, how do you call it, hand waving. You just say, I'll try something on the boundary and make a truncation boundary or something. It's not mathematics.
Yeah.
So something may work in theory if you've got enough budget, but you want to know that it works in practice as well. In theory as well, and I've done it in theory and practice. Yeah. So basically. So just to kind of to answer your question in more detail, here's the transform PDE. That's fairly clear. You can believe me that it's correct. You can check it yourself. But it's not enough because I have to give the boundary conditions of U is my unknown quantity, right? I have to give my boundary conditions. I have to give the payoff condition, but that's an easy one as well. But it's just my payoff. Yeah. I also have to give the boundary conditions on the boundaries when y is equal to 0, y is equal to 1, x is equal to 0, x is equal to 1. Yeah. And I've got an unambiguous, well-defined problem which I can solve numerically. Yeah. And so most people didn't do it because it's pretty tricky.
No, that makes sense. So then you actually you need it to be have the full problem and actually use it in practice also. Yeah.
Well, you can do it without using figure theory or my theory. It's just that you're lashing around using heuristics and ad hoc testing and and eventually you'll probably get it working in practice. So I don't know. I mean, if people are happy, that's fine. I'm just saying here's the alternative. Actually, I do both. I do truncation and domain transformation.
Yeah.
Because in some case, truncation is easy. Can I go back here? Here's my original equation, right?
Mm-hmm.
It looks pretty harmless, relatively speaking, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do, everybody understands that you see it. Once I get here, it looks pretty hairy, doesn't it? I mean, it's scary, yeah?
Yeah.
It's a bit more complex.
Mm-hmm.
So you see even your term here, the DDY, the brackets, 1 minus y squared, it becomes a bit tricky.
Yeah.
And you may not have time to do it. So in some cases, domain truncation might be fine, eh?
Mm-hmm.
You can just say, for certain, maybe interest rate problems sometimes, we did it as well. We compared truncation and domain transformation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it works as well, for certain reasons.
Yeah.
And in a hybrid form, as it were, you may decide to do domain transformations in S1,
Mm-hmm.
right? For whatever reason. And you say, S2 doesn't really matter, I just use truncation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, for example, Asian options, in which there's no diffusion in the S2 term, it's just a first order equation. For Asian options, that's the average of my option price, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could probably say, well, we don't need domain truncation, domain transformation to a unit interval. I just truncate because there's nothing coming from the far field anyways. Because information is only traveling in one direction, okay, with an Asian option.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you want to do the transformation? It's just overkill. So I just truncate and off you go, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Anyway, I'm so long as it works and it gives good results with a reasonable amount of efficiency, you're fine. Is that okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's something. If you have any questions, just send me an email.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but seriously, I spent a lot of time working this out over a number of years.
Yeah.
Trying to okay. So here's the transformed equation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is in the you see the du dx and du dy terms. You see those?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can see them explicitly.
Mm-hmm.
Another topic would be to get rid of them and you just have incorporate these parts of the equation into d2u dx squared, for example.
Yeah.
Which I don't show here because it becomes a bit scary, but it's possible, and I've done it anyway.
Yeah.
So basically, and I want to talk about the actual splitting methods. So let me try to motivate it. Let me go back to the this original form, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't want to bore you with the transformation stuff. Basically, I've got two operators, one in the S1 direction and the other in the S2 direction, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the S1 has diffusion and convection, S2 has diffusion and convection as well. Let's forget about the correlation just for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Let me define a kind of notation. It's the UDT equals sum, all this junk, right? Junk, that's beautiful. But the UDT, let me call the terms in S1 A1, an operator. So it's a differential operator, and the terms in S2, let me call it A2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As I said, forget about the correlation term, just let's go later.
Mm-hmm.
So here, all of these methods are discussed based on C0 semigroup theory. So basically, I take a discrete mesh in time.
Yeah.
So at every time level n, you see it on the top, I go from n to n plus 1. So I'm time marching, as it were.
Yeah.
So assuming my solution is known at time level n,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm at time level n plus 1, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I break it up into one-dimensional problems. So basically the U star, which is the first, it's only half of solution, if you know what I mean. It only solves the S1 part in the U star dt equals A1 U star. You see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm only solving in the S1 direction or X direction, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, because it's an initial value problem, I have to give my solution at time Tn, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If I go to the second leg, it's U star star, and I'm looking in the S2 direction, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Again, I have to take my time level Tn, and I go to the next. So he's the U star at time level n is the U star at time level n plus 1. So I'm using the computed value in the first leg as my initial value in the second leg.
Yeah.
And I keep iterating. So my
So you keep
real.
going.
Sorry, say it again.
Yeah, so you keep building on those. Yeah. in
Exactly.
time.
Yeah. It's, you're stepping, you're sweeping first leg, second leg. And the real solution, U star and U star star, actually, if you solve these problems numerically, they're actually unstable. Sounds weird. You give wrong results. But when you join the two up together in the moment, this one works actually by design. But in general, the real solution which you're trying to solve, you're not interested in U star and U star star. You're looking at U because that's the original problem. I want the solution at time level n plus 1. I just take it to be my U star star at time level n plus 1.
Okay.
So if you understand this, you understand the gist, the essence of the of my splitting method. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's very clear. I'm checking if we still have any questions regarding this. Yeah, also regarding the you said forget about the correlation for a moment. Does that still change a lot when, for example, looking at the computational wise or any of the mathematical stability issues with the correlations? Is that something that could change a lot?
No.
Okay.
A number of the people references I gave you, people were working with ADI. That mortgage article using the Marchuk method, rule of Shepard. And somebody else was saying, I'm working with ADI, it doesn't work properly with correlation terms.
Yeah.
I said, well, yeah, I don't really use it much. It's not a problem, I think, but the answer was that when I suggested to these people, one of them did it on his own bat anyway, so he solved it himself. He discovered that ADI was not really what he wanted, and the splitting method worked much better. But somebody else I was talking to, and he said, I'm trying ADI and problems. I said, no, try splitting. So afterwards, we tried splitting, and in particular the Marchuk method, it worked. So the numerically, it's not a for me, it's not a problem, but maybe probably for other people, it might be maybe I don't understand the problem, or people are not using it properly. But basically, if schemes look a bit difficult, and for me, early warning signals arise. It's a bit messy. Anyway, so that's so a long-winded answer to your question, Vincent. No, it's not a problem, right?
And also, these came from like also your PhD for fluid dynamics. Do you see that like looking at also the financial applications? Because of course, like for our listeners, like a lot of them are interested in the financial applications, like solving these like pricing problems, for example, for like the spreads and the options and such, or interest rates, whatever. Like, do you see that there was like certain like changes that you needed to make? For example, you bring up the boundary conditions. Any other like drastic changes that you made, or do they sort of translate directly to financial applications?
You mean the general PDE models?
Yeah, so the models that you use and also described, like also in the previous slides. Yeah.
In general, I mean, there's always an exception. In general, I don't see any problems. No.
Okay.
We have not experienced. The devil is in the detail. You try 20 million times until it starts working, and then you formalize it basically. But it's not a problem. It's in my opinion, the best method. Best methods.
All right.
Okay. So the right.
Yeah, I think we can go to the section. Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's getting really call it intermezzo. Maybe it's time for a coffee break, but I don't know. Let's carry on.
Yeah, I think we can also like browse through for people who actually want to like go through.
I can take this slowly and give the underlying foundations, but
yeah, I think people can also like read up on it, or for some of your courses.
So basically, if I just look at my equation, is du dt is equal to au plus f. F is some inhomogeneous term. A is my differential operator. So basically, the solution of all these equations is given in terms of a matrix, an integral of a matrix, exponential of a matrix. Anyway, so basically, in formal terms, we got something like du dt is equal to a1 plus a2u. You see?
Yeah.
So a1 would be your differential equation in the S1 direction, A2 is in the S2 direction.
Yeah,
correct?
that makes sense.
U0 is payoff. So you got an explicit solution. It looks wonderful. E to the A1 plus A2t by U0. These are huge matrices. So it's formally it's a matrix, right? That's quite nice. So basically, the you can't put this into a computer. It doesn't work. You got to approximate it numerically.
Yeah.
And all of the splitting methods of the whatever are based on some kind of approximation to A1 and A2 on the solution, right?
Yeah.
So I need to carry on a bit more, but I can't explain in more detail at the moment. But to do a Google of C0 semigroup theory, right?
Yeah.
So basically, so what I do is with my splitting methods, I split it up into two sub-problems, as it were. The first one is dv dt is equal to a1v. The second one is dw dt is a2v, w, right? And I solve each one consecutively, right?
Yeah.
That's basically the way you go. You do it.
Okay.
And
yeah.
You see, of course, the two systems are coupled. V is not coupled to W, but W is coupled to V. Only in the payoff, the initial condition, you see at the end.
Okay.
You solve for V and then you solve for W and you carry on.
Yeah.
I can actually give a demo as well. So it all works. It works in code, by the way, as well. Basically, you didn't believe me, did you? So here, basically, the semigroup theory, when that becomes fairly sophisticated. My solution, my W, that's my sub-solution. These are splitting. You get a splitting error. So my W is equal to e to the a2t, tau, e to the a1t by u0. Whereas my analytical solution is e to the a1 plus a2, you see? But e to the a, oh yeah, I'm repeating myself again. So e to the analytical solution, these two terms are not the same. E to the a2t, e to the a1t is not the same as e to the a1 plus a2t.
Yeah.
It only works in scalar problems, right?
Yeah.
So high scale maths, exponential term, but these are not scalars. A1 is not a number anymore, it's a matrix.
I'm happy we did not do it in purely audio and also have the slides, because otherwise this would have been like so confusing to listen to.
Right.
If you just hear the a to the t to a tau. Blah, blah.
No, but it's really good now.
That's why I suggested giving an audio corresponding.
Yeah.
And by the way, you can post the you can post my PowerPoint slideshow as well if you wish.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's necessary. But you see here, what I'm saying is the following. What's the error? Basically, e to the x plus y minus e to the x minus e to the y, or multiplied by e to the y. You see, that's the error. That's your splitting error. There's no free. The fact that you split a problem into simpler problems has consequences, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Splitting error. So basically, it's all documented in all the literature, blah, blah, blah. The splitting error is something like A1, A2 minus A2, A1, you see? So that's the local truncation error. So basically, you got a second order quantity here, you see?
Yeah.
And in real life, that's a first order splitting in practice. So basically, if A1 is called commutation, A1 by A2 minus A2 by A1, matrices don't commute. M1, M2 is not the same as M1, M2, M1, right?
Yeah.
So this is a non-zero term, so you'll only get first order accuracy in general.
Okay. Yeah.
See, you can see where the error is coming from. The exact solution has a certain form, and my splitting solution has a certain form as well, right?
Yeah.
And that's a fact of life. unless you choose the right splitting method.
Yeah.
So basically, I want to get rid of A1, A2 minus A2, A1. So I get a third order locally, which is the second order globally. That's what I want. I want second order accuracy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do I do it? Good old Marchuk scheme does it. So I'm taking. Yeah.
Yeah, this is again like.
It's a good one, isn't it?
Yep.
So I don't know. Yeah. You start at time level. It's a multi-level scheme. You see, these are artificial time level n minus 1.
Mhm.
Then I go to time level n. And then I go to time level n plus 1. You see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now the schemes on the left-hand side are like, so basically you see n minus a half.
Mm-hmm.
So time level n minus 1 is my baseline level, right? That's where I start from. That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So that could be, for example, your initial payoff. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how you use it in
now?
practice, just for the listeners. Like, that's how you use it. So, like, for example, you have the initial payoff, and then you, like, go forward, right?
So I model each of these as a matrix. M old is a matrix, so because it's a matrix of in S1 and S2 eventually. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So M old would correspond in the very at the kickoff of the algorithm, as it were. M old is the discrete payoff. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I want to go to M1 at time level n minus a half. That's M1, M2, M3, M4 are matrices as well.
Yeah.
So I've got 4 matrices. Doesn't matter. So I compute M1 using the first scheme. So if you look on the left-hand side of your scheme, I have UN minus a half minus UN minus 1 divided by delta t. That's an approximation to the time derivative. Taking AN1 using the average. So you see UN minus a half plus UN minus 1 divided by 2.
Yeah.
So the first leg, if you understand the first leg going from n minus 1 to n minus a half, you understand all the other legs as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the first leg is Crank-Nicolson,
Okay.
which is fine. Yeah. And then I go to from n minus a half to n, of course. You see that?
Yes.
It's all becoming very boring now. You understand it almost immediately, yeah?
It's the way you explain it, I think.
Yeah. Took me 10 years.
Absolutely.
Took me 10 years to understand it. You guys learn in 2 minutes.
No, it's still like a bit of a.
It's the younger generation is pretty fast. Okay, so now the next leg is the 1 2 2 1 scheme. Now at the third leg, I go in the direction A2 as well. So I go A2 again, and then the last leg is the A1, right?
Yeah.
So that's why it's called the A221 method. You see?
Yeah. Yeah. No.
1 means the A1, A2 means the A2. So I do 2 consecutive iterations of the A2 method in the middle space. Yeah. Okay. So that's Marchuk's.
This people can also still pause if they want to like go through everything with like the whole scheme and like going back and forth. Like that's all easy, and like also especially if we can also publish the slides like you mentioned, then we can also people can like follow through using the slides.
Yeah. Okay. So is that any questions? It's probably fairly clear now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So just to bore you a bit more, the term here, the splitting error as it's called.
Yeah.
You see the delta, the squared term. You see the first term, eh?
Yeah.
That disappears with the Marchuk. You know.
Ah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
That's not. Marchuk has documented it. Marchuk was he was a Russian nuclear scientist. One stage he was the head of all Soviet science. So it's a very famous guy. Okay, so here's the predictor-corrector method, which you've got for ordinary differential equations as well. I won't dwell too long on this problem. It's more of the same, but basically, I got 3 levels. Is it? Oh yeah, I got the. Now I go from conceptually from level n to level n plus 1. Okay.
Yeah, because I see n plus 1/4, or is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is kind of fictitious domain number, eh?
Yeah.
So I go from n to n plus a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
In the A1 direction. It's called predictor.
Yeah.
And then I do, oh yeah, I did 2 predictors. My God. The second predictor from n plus 1 over 4 to n plus a half. Second predictor for the A2 term. And then what I take is I go from n plus a half to n plus 1 with the full operator A, you see?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That works pretty well. It's actually fast. I showed you some of my numbers. Predictor-Corrector is the second fastest method I have. Okay, so it's a lot of detail, but you can read about it later.
Yeah, so this you can use instead of Marchuk, right? If I understand
exactly.
correctly.
Marchuk, well, the person who did Marchuk first for finance, he used it for MBS mortgage valuation. So that's important to get good results.
Is it still very actively used today?
Right?
These kind of schemes.
Sorry, say it again.
Is this still used very actively today? These kind of schemes?
Yeah, last week.
Huh.
Yeah, most people choose for ADI, and as far as I can say, I don't know everything. I don't speak to everybody, of course, but if you use it and it works for you, then use it, right?
Yeah.
Basically, you just the question is, if you use methods which are known to everybody, it's fine. But at a certain stage, maybe you take a risk and try some method which is better. So? Okay, now the alternating direction explicit method on this basic two-dimensional heat equation. Now, it's getting. I've documented it on my site and so on. But basically, I've got 2 solutions. This was developed by Saul'yev in the 1950s, when computers weren't so big. There was only one, for example, he in the former Soviet Union, there was only one main computer in the Soviet Union, for example. That's where they actually worked on these methods, for example. But basically, I got 2 sub-solutions, big U and big V. So basically, if I look in the diagram here, I'm solving the heat equation on the bounded interval. You see the boundary, of course, eh?
Yeah.
So it's in a box. So on the boundary of the box, you have to specify boundary conditions. And you solve for U, you have to solve for V. But in this particular case, if you look at it, I'm going from in the U term, I'm going from left to right. So I'm solving time level n to time level n plus 1, of course.
Yeah.
In principle, everything is known at time level n because that's the previous values, right? And I have to solve for this PDE at time level n plus 1, as always, right? But the tricky part is, the sneaky part and the good part is that when you're solving, if you look here on the left-hand side, see UN plus 1 ij, yeah?
Yeah.
UN plus 1 ij is the solution at time level n plus 1, which you have to compute, which is unknown, at time level I and j, for each I and j. But the point is, everything on, if you look at the right-hand side of the equation, now everything at time level n is known by definition. The tricky part is, have a look at the first one here. U n plus 1, I minus 1 j. You see that term?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the crucial question. See if you're paying attention. Is that known or unknown? Because if it's unknown, we've lost, because we have to bring everything unknowns to the left-hand side of my equation, correct?
Yeah.
But it's not unknown. Why is it not unknown? Because I'm looking at the solution at time level n plus 1, but I minus 1, that's in the past.
Yeah.
Look at the diagram again. So you're considering every I and j. I minus 1 is the previous boundary, you see?
Okay, yeah.
Has the penny dropped?
Sort of. So you mean that the first term, like that because it's on the previous boundary.
Exactly.
That's why it's known.
In other words, it's already known.
Yeah.
for
Okay.
any time level, in particular n+1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sneaky, yeah? So basically, so everything on the right-hand side of your first equation is known.
Yeah.
The same holds for j minus 1. You see j minus 1?
Yeah, yeah, and the second part, yeah.
That's the same one. But you've also got a term like, for example, this is the UNI plus 1j. That's on the previous and the next boundary. But that's it's at the previous time level, so it's not a problem. It's
Okay.
not a concern.
Yeah.
So long story short, this method, I take the average. These are only half solutions. Both of them are kind of unstable to a certain extent. You take the average and you get a second order stable approximation to my option price.
Yeah.
And it's without having to use a matrix solver.
Wow. Which you back in the beginning had to make yourself, right? The whole like matrix library.
Myself personally.
No, but because it was all like very like there was like no standard packages, right, that you could use.
No, don't get me started.
All right, no,
So
but
I
I
think-
think also for the listeners, like this is they can always pause this if they need to go through it again. So
Sure.
Absolutely.
Speaking of matrix libraries, well, first remark is, once you ask me, I start giving answers, of course. But the, my QuantNet students in my QuantNet C++ course, I let the students make their own matrix library as well, templated. I'm not joking, huh?
Yeah. No, it's
But
good practice.
I made it myself as well, but it's and are you familiar with the Boost C++ libraries?
I've
there's a
heard
ma-
of it. Yeah.
I've
There's
heard
a,
of it,
ma-
yeah.
there's a matrix library in Boost, UBLAS. That's it's too slow. I made my own basic matrix library, and it's 3 times faster than UBLAS, believe it or not. But UBLAS is not supported anymore because it wasn't. C++ 26, which is the up-and-coming C++ standard, they're actually mentioned that there's a matrix library coming. Yeah. How should I say? I believe it when I see it. Right?
You're a skeptic.
Yeah.
What?
Are you a skeptic?
I'm not a skeptic.
You've just been in this for you've been in this for too long.
Yeah.
Seriously, my method works. My matrix method works for me because my objective is not to be to build the fastest matrix library ever in the West, but I'm using a matrix as the data structure in order to show how wonderful my finite difference methods are. That's something else, right?
Yeah.
So once I can use any old matrix, so long as it works and doesn't give pointer problems and whatever, blah blah blah. But so long as I can use it to actually show the accuracy of my numerical methods, that's what I'm doing. So that's fine.
All right.
C++, C# had matrix libraries years ago, and Java maybe as well. And actually, to be honest, the best language for developing all these numerical methods is Fortran, basically. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it's all in Fortran. It's got all the numerical libraries, parallel processing, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
So personally, but I don't know anything about computer science, of course. I would have just made wrappers, standard wrappers from C++ to Fortran, instead of trying to invent the wheel again. But
have you ever dabbled with Rust?
Yes.
Do you like it?
No. I'm just trying to be clever. But actually, seriously, did you try Rust or?
Yeah. My friend, a very intelligent engineering and AI engineer and like computer science friend of mine loves Rust, and I also use it from time to time.
Yeah.
I don't know, like not a lot of people in the industry use it, to be fair.
No, I don't think so. But basically, if I say something I like it, I dabbled a little bit in it. I bought all the Rust books actually, and I spent about a week programming some of the examples I would do in C++, for example, and a bit of templates as well, and the type traits, you know, these type traits stuff. But basically, the feeling I got was, it's a bit, well, first problem is, it's not suitable for the applications that I'm involved in, like in the past, CAD/CAM. It's not good for data structures and modeling objects, object-oriented objects, or mathematics. It's got no matrix library, okay? And I don't feel like making a matrix library in Rust, sorry. But and besides, the last remark is, and I'm going to annoy some, I'll probably get the hate mail now. The syntax I saw, type traits in particular, basically C++ 20 with concepts has it as well.
Okay.
So for me, the added advantage is, and people say, yeah, but you got memory problems, pointers. So I don't have those problems, sorry. I program my stuff correctly. And it's all numerics, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, so once you get your stuff up and running, it works. That's it. So there's no segmentation faults because I'm working within the bounds and so on.
Yeah.
So I don't see Rust. I don't know. Maybe I'm too old to learn Rust. I've seen so many languages anyway, so it's. But I would say if you say I prefer Rust to C++, give me a concrete example to show that it works.
Yep.
And not just you know, well, you know what I'm talking about, but
yeah,
you give a concrete example to prove benchmark examples, basically. So
I also
it's okay.
think this was the last slide almost, right? Or no? Is there one more? I can't remember.
Yeah. Here's my comment. I think my last slide. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
No, of course.
So basically, let me see. I've skipped some of the other stuff as well. So basically, I finished my talk. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
We talked about the finite difference methods. We didn't really talk about the design yet. It's probably not possible in such a short period of time. But basically, when I'm solving problems, and it's not just for finance, it's this stuff I discovered at least 12 years ago, when I was working also in you know, technical automation, for example. When you're solving your problem, you break a problem into sub-problems, and you solve each problem independently. So basically, this is my architectural model. So I got a mediator in the middle, and each module in the satellite system, as it were, does its own bits and pieces. So for example, I've got a source here. This is where all my data is coming from. In particular, on my option pricing models are based on the same principle. On Monte Carlo as well. So my source system does all the data you need to actually set up the system. The classifier basically system tells you which kind of model you want to use. Am I going to use an interest rate model or a equity model? The finite difference system, there's a whole bunch of models, you see. Marchuk, ADI,
the ones we covered also.
I've got my management information system, which holds on to the running statistics, and we got reporting. These are client systems, for example, and the builder. This would be a design pattern, it's called, for actually building the whole configuration. So these are factory methods, if you know what I mean, in C++. So you need factories, but these are factories on steroids. So it's actually building a conglomeration of objects. And basically, each of these modules, work together to give the price, the option, or whatever you want to do. And each of these modules are implemented by a combination of classes in C++, right? So
what kind of firms should we think of, like when you're in the reporting section, or like clients? What kind of firms in like also the financial industry go through this?
What kind of functionality you mean?
Yeah, like what kind of like which types of firms use this sort of like web, like this frame that you set up? Is it a very common like kind of style that you give to your clients, or do they just get the reporting side, or do you do all of the modeling? Sort of the like, how does that work?
My at the moment, my clients are people who want to learn how to learn to do this, right?
Yeah,
And I give it to people in the form of my books, my articles, and so on.
yeah,
Um, um, in that sense, I don't do whatever you call it, consultancy as such.
mm-hmm.
And maybe a lot of more people probably use this than they will tell me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
that
yeah,
makes
yeah.
sense.
Just
Yeah,
get on
so
with the job, and that's it, and it's fine. But people have their own methods as well, right?
yeah,
Mm.
Yeah, so which are similar. I mean, this is not unique. It's my own model. So basically, you know, how should I say it? My QuantNet students are using it, so I'm teaching the next generation of students, right?
yeah,
In fact, so in 20 years' time, everybody will be talking about the Duffy's, what do you call it, domain architectures, maybe.
yeah,
I said that.
So we'll make sure of it.
yeah.
I said that 20 years ago as well. But anyway, but the actually the advanced C++ course in QuantNet, Baruch, the project, so advanced C++, people are learning the module, which is the last project. I want the students to actually write the Monte Carlo project in C++ 20, whatever, using this model.
Yeah.
And they're actually, the teaching assistant will tell them, you've done it properly or not properly, or it can be better. So but whatever, yeah, it's if you've got money to burn, I mean, you can start programming and see how it works until using heuristics and so on. But if you want to get something up and running pretty fast, you need to have some sort of systematique, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just ad hoc. I mean,
Yeah, and also just a short question. Like you've trained like thousands of like future quants like through QuantNet and also through all your courses, and you've seen a lot across the last couple of decades, like teaching a lot of people. What is like your main sort of takeaway that you would give to any future quant? Because of course, like the landscape has changed a lot. What would be like the key takeaway that you say, okay, this is something that you should pick up on, or this is how you should proceed with your framework, or always, you mentioned, for example, always do your research before you start building. Any other like core tips that you say like these are like the key takeaways that I would give to a future quant?
Yeah, basically, you've got to know what you're talking about, basically. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I started my life in computing, in engineering, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I worked with the customers. The customer might be cost control or something. They come in with a problem you have to solve, or a fluid flow problem. You've got to understand what the customer is talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And computing is software, whatever you want to call it, is after sales.
Yeah.
So when I talk to a lot of computer science people, that's one aspect maybe. Okay, computer science people who want to become quants or whatever. Computer science talk computer science all day, grosso modo, in general, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas it's the customer wants to solve a problem. So you got to be, you can do all the computer science you want and Rust and all the traits and all nice fancy stuff.
Yeah.
But keep it to yourself, basically, to a certain extent. If you're not solving the problem from the customer, you're losing out, basically.
Yeah,
that's true.
So it depends on the domain you're working in. I mean, I only speak for myself. I started doing all this maths in the 1970s. And I said, there must be some application for this maths. And 5 years later, I was working in Holland, and I was using all the numerical methods. I got my lectures in and research.
Yeah.
After. It's not always the case for people, but especially in quant. Okay, you've got AI and artificial neural networks. It kind of makes life tricky, and people thinking that there's nothing more to AI than just interpolation and regression. It's all basic. It's all basic stuff. But basically, life is becoming much more complicated, and I think basically you got to know. You have a good idea of what maths. You've got to understand maths basically. Yeah?
Yeah.
Calculus, they call it sometimes. I call it real analysis, but and you've got the numerical maths in particular. So 90%, I reckon, of stuff which is going on in finance is numerical.
Yeah.
It's not pure maths. It's whatever. And programming, you got to be able to program. I don't call it coding. That sort of makes it trivializes it. It's programming is an art in itself.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't understand, basically.
Yeah.
But I'm from the last century, of course, so I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe the rules have changed. Are letting AI generate the code for you? That's not going to work out, I think.
No, what we see, there's like two differences, is that you can either use it to understand code, which makes it easier to like translate it from like one person to the other. You can use it to like understand certain snippets. You can also use it to give suggestions, of course. But then what you see now is that there's a lot of people just purely coding, especially in the mathematical fields. Like for regular software products, like it might be the risks are not as high, but like in the financial industry, if you just start randomly letting AI generate code for you, AI doesn't really, like you were mentioning, think for you. So I think the biggest difference there is also that AI doesn't understand the potential like cybersecurity risks, or doesn't understand certain like mathematical formulas or theorems. It doesn't take it into consideration always, because it's like you were saying, just like a sort of predictor of like the next sort of like code snippet. So like it's not, I wouldn't say you have to like purely like rely on it, and I don't know if it's ever going to be where like AI can purely generate like a full code that takes into account like everything. I don't know what your take is on it, Arnav.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, a lot of the things that Dr. Duffy has talked about today are based on knowing how to design a system before actually pushing it into code, right?
Yeah.
It's knowing what you're talking about. And to go to your point, Vincent, like actually using AI to try and design that thing before you know what you're talking about is just a step backwards in and of itself.
Yeah.
So realistically, we're never going to get ahead unless AI were to be able to read your mind. But if you don't know yourself what you're talking about, as Dr. Duffy made quite clear throughout his presentation and thereafter, then it's kind of pointless to even use an AI to build code, because you don't know what the code means.
Yeah, or it needs like that much data that it has, like for example, the client conversations, that it has the client systems, that it has access to like the news to know like potential cybersecurity risks, that it has access to all the paperwork from mathematics. But then it becomes something where like, do we want to give that much access to all the systems to a computer? So
maybe I can give an answer, follow on to both of your good remarks. In particular, referring to this block diagram again, context diagram. In the past, in the 90s, when we were the first in Holland to set up object-oriented, and it was really very busy time, because everybody wanted to learn object-oriented, right?
Yeah.
And so I give courses, etc. And so I give courses, but first of all, talk to management. We want my colleagues to have a course. Okay, sure, no problem. But we're embarking on a new system ourselves to make machines, chip machines or telecom or whatever, design patterns. But we want you to give some consultancy as well to help us along, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you've done all the theory, it's great, but how are we going to set up a system, right? And so basically I said, okay, I'll come later on after the course, come for half a day to talk to the senior designers and management, whatever, to discuss the problem that they actually want to apply object-oriented too, okay?
Yeah.
I would come with a blank A4 sheet, and I would, yeah, really,
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. And I would start drawing a sort of flow diagram. It's called a data flow diagram. Well, it wasn't object-oriented.
Yeah.
It was a bit outdated, but it works. So I'd start drawing scribbling ellipses and circles. You saw my scribbles in my presentations. So those kinds of scribbles, when nobody would say to me, "Oh, that's not a nice scribble," I would scribble something and draw a line and say, "What's coming into the box?" Oh, they say there's some basic data from customers or something, or what's coming out. They would say, "Oh, there's all kinds of stuff coming out in the reporting section." Yeah, but what's the most important part? So it would go along. I said, "Okay, I'm not getting an idea, but you'd also want to know what are the collaborating systems which help you get your results, right?" So story short, I would have, within half a morning, I would have my context diagram here, you see, my big blocks of information.
Yeah.
And from that we would start developing the software.
Yeah. No, that's also why it's so valuable, because I think like just to take that approach of
The rest is history.
yeah.
I'm basically, so when I'm talking about requirements analysis. You have to work, or you can't code yet because you don't know yet what design is going to be.
Yeah.
That's requirements analysis, asking questions, what vibes might do. So in that sense, AI vibe might be useful actually.
Yeah.
So if you become a good requirements analyst, how to interview people, not everybody can do it, of course, but to actually get the right people to tell you what they actually want. So AI vibes might be a good partner for you as a requirements analyst.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe like a buddy that can help you understand certain things, or but not to make the design.
Yeah, but for me, of course, the AI vibe works for me and not the other way around.
Yeah.
Because if I know too much, and if I don't know it, I'll ask the vibe to work it out for me. So it's fine.
Yeah.
So I think looking into the crystal balls, as it were, what do you call it? I always start with a context diagram here. It's a big picture.
Yeah.
If you're building a house or something, you have a picture as well of the architect's drawing, right?
Yeah.
Except software people don't do it. It's the model is in their heads actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's another story. But the started with this kind of context diagram, and we use this as a sort of discussion medium to discuss what the customer really wants. So the positive part of AI, to generate code, it's I don't know if it's going to work, because it's mostly rubbish code basically, as far as I can see. I've done some tests actually with very low level libraries, which is fine, because I didn't feel like writing all the questions myself. So let AI just generate the initial stuff. But we use it as so maybe requirements analysis, which was one of my favorite hobbies or work practices, because you're thinking about stuff all day, you know?
Yeah.
Which is good and bad. You don't have to implement anything, you just talk about it, which is also
it's what the consultants like to do. They like to talk about the problems.
In Dutch it's called werk overleg. You're just talking about work.
Yeah, it's what they all like to do.
To make a joke, I love work. I can watch it all day. Yeah, sure.
That's why me and Arnav started the podcast, so that we can just talk.
Everybody needs to understand what the problem is that they're trying to solve, you know? So that this is a good medium, seriously. And basically, a management information system, I've done management information systems in engineering, oil and gas, and telecom. So if I see that a customer has really a management information system, that's one of my domain categories, I don't start inventing the wheel. I start with this context diagram as well, and from there we just work it out.
Yeah.
So within a week, for example, we have a prototype up and running. It's already been done before.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So I don't know if it's a long-winded answer to your question. That's the whole point of the. Is that a bit clearer, Vincent?
Yeah. No, I really also I think on that note we have to wrap up the podcast.
Absolutely.
Here's my last piece of code of all these splitting. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is my ADI. I told you about the ADE. So basically, it's undocumented code. It's documented, but not this level. But basically, you see, M is my matrices.
Yeah.
So I'm taking my M. I'm computing the new value at the I and J component at every time level.
Yeah.
And you see here, I got my M new I plus 1, I minus 1, J minus 1.
Yeah.
So it's a snippet of code basically. So basically, the I can't give you the demo now because it's probably time is up more or less, right?
Yeah, we also have an event soon, so we need to.
Sure, that's fine. Yeah, but basically, regarding the spread option, two-factor option, so the ADE method, that's the actual core of the code I'm showing you.
Yeah.
It's nothing more. It's about 20, 30 lines of code, but everything around it is huge, of course. But this is the basic. And you see here, Yanyenko mixed derivative term. That's, you were talking about the mixed derivative terms. Does it make life difficult?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. That's you just plug in the mixed derivative term.
No, that's super interesting. I think also listeners can of course pause this slide so that they can look at the code snippet and also try it for themselves if they're really trying to work out something using this. Also for practice, I think it's good.
So we've talked together for 3 hours now.
Yeah,
almost. So this it took me 50 years to learn this, so you guys can learn it in a few hours. So it's
yeah, we'll try. I don't think we fully comprehend everything, but
I don't expect you to.
No, but the way you explained it is the best that we could have blasted through all of this 50 years of experience in the little time that we had. I also want to say I really appreciate your time. It's wonderful what you do, and also to speak to someone with this much experience is super valuable.
Absolutely.
It was my pleasure, gentlemen, and so I look forward to reactions on the podcast.
Yeah,
absolutely. And then one more thing for our listeners, obviously we've seen the slides throughout the episode. And another thing is you guys should definitely check out Datasim. Dr. Duffy has been working on this company for a long time. He's consulted not only students, but as we've heard, he's consulted industry experts and people who are actually working in this field as well. So alongside that, please check out Dr. Duffy's literature. It's already also linked on the website. We will also have his website of the company in the description, and everything about Dr. Duffy, if you want to look more into his tenure in the industry, is also listed on the website. So my online courses are not only for students, but also people in quants in banks do it as well. So
thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Have a nice day. Looking forward to hearing from you.
Absolutely.
All right. Take care.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.